So do you ever feel like a fraud even when you have achieved things of note? Like you're just pretending that someday everyone will realize who you are and you are not as competent as they think you are. If so, you might be experiencing what is commonly known as imposter syndrome. And it's an ongoing fear that they are going to be found out or unmasked as being incompetent or unable to replicate past successes. And this can lead to tremendous anxiety, depression, lack of confidence, hindering personal and professional growth. Very important. It's a psychological pattern where people doubt themselves, their accomplishments, a fear being exposed, despite evidence of their competence. It affects people from all walks of life, from students to CEOs, and can manifest in many ways, impacting mental health and overall well-being. So today, we will dive really deep into this commonly referred to aspect of life and exploring some of the lesser known aspects as well. How it affects people in different fields, and most importantly for us, how mindfulness can help you overcome it, or at least work towards it. And as promised, I'll provide you 3 behavioral experiments that you can try to use for yourself and to challenge your own imposter narratives, imposter feelings. So ready? If you're ready, I invite you to just go along with this journey with me and see what comes out. So, what is imposter syndrome? Yeah, ever since I've left the cushy comforts of the corporate world to turn into spiritual guidance and teaching about practices that can help improve everyone around us, including ourselves, what I've come across are few things which didn't make sense to me at all, and I would like to share some of that with you. So one of the things that didn't make sense to me is this constant hustle and bustle culture, which is sabotaging our relationship with ourselves. There are instances where we prioritize some arbitrary situation over our own self, putting others in danger as well as ourselves in danger, not from some external issues but more internally. So hustle and bustle culture has never really sit well with me, and I'm sure there are many people out there trying to defend this culture. I'm not saying you shouldn't defend what you love. All I'm asking is to start to notice if there is anything missing. What is the need? A lot of people come back and say, oh, the need is for getting money. I think we need the money to be able to sustain whatever it is that we are living. Sure, 100%. We need money. We need money to survive. We need money to thrive. And money is a tool and a way in which we can. But that's not the real answer, because there are people out there who get even more money doing something completely different, or something they enjoy, or something they're practiced, making similar amounts of money. So it's not just the money, it's something else, something deeper. And I got into this habit of really thinking I was doing something wrong, that what I'm doing is not relevant. And especially in the day job, which was consuming, which was interesting to a certain extent, and it is fun to be around people, 100%. There's a lot of a social aspect to work culture, which is really important. So I think you need to take care of that. The other thing which struck me is, as I moved into teaching philosophies of the mind, what I was struck with was mostly something known as imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is something which we will be discussing today. So we will learn everything about it, and we'll learn some things which probably you never knew about it as well. So hopefully in this discussion we can learn together more. So I invite you to take a seat, maybe gently closing your eyes, orienting yourself for the day ahead, and practice setting your intentions, being grateful for whatever it is that you have been going through and learning and renewing. Noticing the breath, the mind, the body, wherever it is, meeting it right where it is. And that's the challenge. That is what we are going to be doing today. So just taking a few deep breaths in. Pausing at the top and letting go. We do this a couple of times just to relax a bit further. Pause at the top and let it go. Once more for good luck. Pause at the top and gently let go of all the air in your body. And let the breath come back to its natural state. Noticing where your mind is and simply acknowledging wherever it is. It is in thoughts, it is in the future, it may be in the past. Noticing where it is and simply bringing it back to this moment. This practice of finding your stillness, finding your rhythm, finding your self right here, right now. So take this moment to deeply enrich and enjoy yourself. The moment to really celebrate your accomplishments, small ones and big ones. So yes, so in today's practice we'll be discussing overcoming imposter syndrome. So do you ever feel like a fraud even when you have achieved things of note? Like you're just pretending that someday everyone will realize who you are and you are not as competent as they think you are. If so, you might be experiencing what is commonly known as imposter syndrome. And it's an ongoing fear that they are going to be found out or unmasked as being incompetent or unable to replicate past successes. And this can lead to tremendous anxiety, depression, lack of confidence, hindering personal and professional growth. Very important. It's a psychological pattern where people doubt themselves, their accomplishments, a fear being exposed, despite evidence of their competence. It affects people from all walks of life, from students to CEOs, and can manifest in many ways, impacting mental health and overall well-being. So today, we will dive really deep into this commonly referred to aspect of life and exploring some of the lesser known aspects as well. How it affects people in different fields, and most importantly for us, how mindfulness can help you overcome it, or at least work towards it. And as promised, I'll provide you 3 behavioral experiments that you can try to use for yourself and to challenge your own imposter narratives, imposter feelings. So ready? If you're ready, I invite you to just go along with this journey with me and see what comes out. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is characterized as this intense feeling of inadequacy despite external evidence of success. They often attribute their achievements to external factors like luck or timing or charm rather than some of their own skills and abilities. And these people who suffer this downplay their accomplishments and fear being found out as a fraud. So there are multiple types of imposter syndrome. And here are 5 main subtypes of imposter syndrome. So there is the perfectionist. These people have the extremely high expectations and low tolerance for mistakes. They constantly strive for flawlessness and feel like a failure even if they fall short little bit of their own standards. The perfectionists are interesting because they feel imposter syndrome a lot. Not quite clear on how they internally manifest it, but they feel it as reported in number of studies. Then there's the superhero imposter. They feel the need to excel in multiple roles and take on excessive responsibilities. They often overextend themselves and feel inadequate if they cannot handle everything perfectly. Then there are these experts who feel imposter syndrome. They are driven by need for extensive knowledge workers. They feel like they must know everything before starting a task, and again, fear being exposed because they don't know. And some of us fall into this expert narrative of an imposter. Then there is this natural genius. Natural genius judge their competence based on how easily they can master a skill. This is a very interesting, noteworthy idea where people are natural. What does that mean? And it's often outweighed against other people who are unnatural. So you have this someone who is really natural at playing football versus there is someone who has really worked hard to get to that level. And you wonder, what is that all about? Is there some unique gift? Is there something really important about being natural? I don't believe so. I think this is just a narrative which I think has been prevalent in a lot of circles where people who are found natural are often picked ahead of other people in different aspects of life. That's another different topic. But this natural genius also, they feel like imposters if they don't achieve success immediately in the things they do, etc. And effortlessness should be part of their life. And all of this is just a really muddled view of humanity, really. Then there is the soloist. Soloists believe that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And I don't know whether many of us are this soloist. They value independence and feel like an imposter if they need assistance or collaboration to achieve anything. So they believe they can do it all by themselves. So as we go deeper into what it is, we have to acknowledge some of the well-known aspects of imposter syndrome. So here are some key characteristics you may find in imposter syndrome. Maybe something you also may have noticed in yourself. The key characteristics are the imposter cycle. The cycle starts with an achievement-related task. Individual with an imposter syndrome may either over-prepare or procrastinate due to anxiety and fear of success or failure. Even after successfully completing that task, they often fail to internalize their success, attributing it to some sort of external factors. This leads to a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud and perpetuating the cycle of imposter cycle. And people with imposter syndrome often have unrealistic standards for themselves. They strive for flawlessness and are highly critical of performance. And any mistake or perceived imperfection reinforces their feelings of inadequacy. There is this fear of failure, which is the common characteristic of imposter syndrome. Apart from the need to be very special and the superhero aspect, this fear of failure is the main reason I think people suffer from this condition. This fear can lead to avoidance behaviors and procrastination and overall just general feeling of anxiety. So denial of competence and discounting praise. Individuals with this sort of thing often downplay their skills and accomplishments. How many times have you done that in your life? Maybe asking yourself these questions, which is really what the exercise is. Am I doing this in certain areas of life? Am I doing this in my work, my home life, wherever? And there is the often attributed fear and guilt about success. Success can trigger anxiety and guilt in individuals with imposter syndrome, as they worry about the increased expectations, scrutiny, or the possibility of being found out. So we talked about some of these most known or well-known, these are known aspects, but some of the lesser known or confusing aspects of imposter syndrome are, first of all, it is not a syndrome in the clinical sense. It is not a formally recognized psychological disorder. It is just a trait which we carry as humans. And also remember, it is not always harmful. It has negative consequences that has been documented, but it also is associated with positive traits like humility and strong work ethic. So people who post this and understand this, they can use it in a way that is useful. And here's a tricky one. I think it because of our socio-cultural situations, it comes out in different ways in different genders as well, especially in men and women. Studies suggest that men and women may experience and respond to imposter syndrome differently. Women may be more likely to overwork and push themselves harder, while men may be more likely to downplay their achievements and avoid challenges. And now this is not a fact, but this is a difference in the way people interact. And there is this counterphobic tendency. People may exhibit a counterphobic tendency where they move towards what they fear, constantly striving to achieve and prove themselves despite persistent self-doubt. And this can happen in a lot of cases. The term used is we just barge through, or we just push through this tendency. It can be linked with specific personal traits though. People with certain personality traits such as neuroticism, narcissism, and even perfectionism and low self-efficacy may be more prone to experiencing imposter syndrome. So people who may have these tendencies in their mind, they may be actually harboring these issues. So that is what we are really diving deep into today, is this understanding of imposter syndrome. And I hope this gives you a little bit of flavor. And the final thing, which is interesting, less known fact about imposter syndrome, is this pluralistic ignorance. So people with imposter syndrome often feel alone in their self-doubt, unaware that others are experiencing similar feelings. So they perpetuate the cycle of insecurity and prevent them from seeking support. Very important. You are not alone is the key message we can all take away when we think about imposter syndrome. So yeah, there are many ways, many places, many people. It can affect people at school, people at work, in relationships. The partners feeling that they will discover their flaws. At work, the boss, the managers might just come up and find out that you spent that 5 minutes on something else other than work. In social situations, people may feel like they are being judged all the time or incompetent at the task they are doing. And this can hinder a lot of us because we need to sometimes be promoting ourselves and networking in terms of professional and social advancement. So when this happens, people often don't do it. And I know I've been there. I've procrastinated in not putting myself out there for a long time. And it has been a cause of a lot of anxiety. And it can also contribute to low self-esteem, self-doubt, and fear of failure. Can lead to chronic stress, emotional exhaustion, and difficulty coping with everyday challenges. And few things around imposter syndrome that affects other people. Impact of social media cannot be understated. And intellectual inauthenticity. So there's reference to the downplay of one's knowledge or skills to avoid being perceived as a fraud. And this is happening a lot. If you notice, where people want to downplay what they do because they believe if they say it and somebody will be, you are not that. You are not a meditation teacher. You are not a author. You are not this, that, or the other, based on some arbitrary rule. So it's very important to recognize that imposter syndrome is part of life. It's okay. It's very important to understand what we can do about it also. So, since you have listened to it now for a few minutes and you are getting bored of me speaking about imposter syndrome, again, another aspect of imposter syndrome is assuming others will not like what you do, very, very interesting. But here are three behavioral experiments you can try to overcome this imposter narrative. So the three behavioral experiments you can try to challenge your imposter feelings are: one is called name it to tame it. So keep a journal, start writing down and track your imposter thoughts. So when you notice an imposter thought, write it down and challenge it with evidence that contradicts it. For example, if you think, I'm not good enough at this job, counter it with few examples of your accomplishments and positive feedback you have received, and do it over and over and over again. So that's one. So name it to tame it. This can work in all sorts of settings, not just in work. Second thing you can do is positive feedback log. So logging all the positive feedback, does not matter what it is. Maybe it is just a smile from a stranger. It might be someone tapping a shoulder and saying, great job. It might be someone praising your work online. Maybe there is someone who messaged you about something they received from you. They thank you. All of this, keep it logged, keep it ready, keep it in your phone, keep it in your face. Every time you open your phone, you should see this positive log. And the third experiment you can try is something called vulnerability experiment. So share these feelings you have. And if you have imposter syndrome, imposter feelings, with someone you trust, completely open up. And someone you trust should be able to receive it as well and be there and be kind and receiving. So it is not a solution focused talk. It is about just sharing these feelings and about your and knowing and sharing these experiences, which can help you realize that you are not alone and that many people struggle with similar feelings. So try these three experiments: name it to tame it, positive feedback log, and vulnerability experiment. Three things you can do to overcome imposter syndrome. So how can mindfulness help overcome imposter syndrome? So as we've practiced mindfulness for a while, it is important to understand that we can use a lot of these ideas into helping us get ready for life. Mindfulness just doesn't have to be an activity which we just do passively. We can involve it in our daily life, and that's my intention. So that's why I think there is a lot of importance in identifying human behavior and things we can change and how we can include mindfulness into it. So I'm doing this with fitness, physical fitness, and also mental fitness. So how can mindfulness overcome or help overcome imposter syndrome? As we know, it's a practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. And it can help you become aware of these thoughts in the first place. I think without even realizing that you have these thoughts, it doesn't even work to start to change what you believe. So instead of automatically believing the thought, I'm not good enough, you can simply acknowledge it as a thought and observe it without judgment. Second thing you can do is challenge these negative self-talk. Become more self-aware of thoughts. You can start to challenge and reframe negative self-talk. For instance, if you notice yourself thinking, I'm going to fail in this presentation, for example, you can challenge that thought by reminding yourself of past successful presentations, or just knowing that everyone has similar problems and your presentation is well prepared, or you have done by yourself and you really appreciate the opportunity to present. The other aspect of mindfulness is developing self-compassion, kindness, treating yourself with kindness and understanding, which help counter some of these feelings of self-doubt, etc. And lastly, reducing stress and anxiety. So mindfulness practices, breathing, noticing the thoughts, body scan, all of that helps reduce stress in general, which can help you overcome the feelings of anxiety that comes with feeling impostery. I don't know if that's a word, but let's make it. So the key takeaways from all of this, if I have to put it into 4 key takeaways. 1, imposter syndrome is a common experience. You're not alone in feeling like a fraud. Many successful people struggle with these feelings. It's often linked to high achievement, is often seen in high achieving individuals who set high standards for themselves. It can be a sign of growth. Feeling like an imposter can sometimes indicate that you are on the right track and pushing yourself outside your known areas of life and taking on new challenges. And it's important to be kind to yourself. So all of this is a challenging experience. It's important to remember that it's not a reflection on your true abilities at all. It often stems from a combination of personal experiences, societal pressures, systemic forces. By understanding the different aspects of your imposter, practicing mindfulness and trying behavioral experiments can help you start to challenge those negative thoughts and embrace your accomplishments. Remember, you are capable and deserving of success. So seek support where required and cultivate self-compassion to navigate challenges of imposter syndrome and achieve your true potential. So thank you for listening today on this long chat about imposter feelings or imposteriness. I think it is really important to pay attention to your mind, body while you practice. So take this moment to just simply come back to your breath, come back to your body, and notice what has shifted. Notice how light you feel or how heavy you feel. Notice any pressure, tension, maybe from the words I spoke, maybe from your own thoughts starting to run, and you are noticing where it is going and simply noticing where it is and bringing it back to this breath, to this body, to this mind. Take a deep breath in and let it all go out. Let it all go out. And as you let it all go out, just really acknowledging and appreciating the fact that you turned up to learn a little bit about imposter syndrome, a complete deep dive where we have learned everything that is there to be known about imposter syndrome. And if you like what we do, please come back, please share, please comment. And until the next talk, take it easy. This has been Nikhil, and this has been a daily practice live. Thank you.